Hello everybody, happy Sunday. We are going live today with Karen, Coach KK, to discuss grief and loss. I think it's a very appropriate time to be discussing that, and Karen is generous enough to open up about her experience with the loss of her mom a few weeks ago or even a month ago. Hi Devari, thanks for joining. We're just waiting for Karen to pop on and then I will add her. How's everybody doing this Sunday morning? Hello, Maura. Thanks for joining. Hello, Karen. Okay, let me invite you. I know how to do that. Hey, amazing. That was fast.
Wow, that was really fast.
Okay, awesome.
Hi.
Thanks for joining. Hello.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you for being so brave and generous with your experience. So the header that I gave is just that we're talking about grief and loss. I do have the points that you had written out for me right in front of me, and I love them. So I'm good to start. Do you want to give any background? Do you want to talk a bit about your work as a coach, or just do you want to jump right into it as in terms of the conversation?
Sure, I can just briefly go into that. I'm a life coach. I mostly have clients, teen girls, single girls. I have a program for teen girls where it's an empowerment program where we empower young ladies with their self-esteem and their confidence and various issues that go on in their lives. I like to do teen groups because I feel like everyone can resonate with what everyone else is saying. So I mostly do that. I'm a college teacher. I do one-on-one coaching. And yeah, I haven't been so active on Instagram as we're going to discuss.
We're going to talk about exactly. But I did want to say that when I spoke to you about your coaching, I was really impressed because it was so clear to me that you stay in your lane. And I know that that's a big hot topic for people where they're afraid to go to coaches, or coaches sometimes get bad raps because they're doing what a therapist does. And I can attest that when I spoke to Karen, she's like, this is what I do and this is what I don't do.
Exactly.
I think it's so amazing. There are so many, a life coach for a teenager is not very common, and I think it's so needed. And not necessarily in lieu of therapy, sometimes very much in addition to therapy, but really having that social companion, especially maybe when a teenager doesn't have that older sibling that's a role model, or that parent that could serve as that role model. They can't identify with that parent as much. So I think there's such a place for it, and I'm so excited to have you on this platform, and then God willing collaborate more and more on with OK Clarity. So just wanted to say my 2 cents there. All right, so let's jump right into it. So the first thing actually that you had mentioned was mourning versus grieving. And I was like, that's so cool, because I never even differentiated them in my mind, those 2 words. So do you want to speak about that for a minute?
Yeah, for sure. I always thought it was the same thing. When anyone experienced loss in their lives, I always just assumed mourning meant grieving, grieving meant mourning.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think, how I saw it till you wrote mourning versus grieving. And I was like, okay, there's something to talk about.
Yes, exactly. So grieving is really the internal meaning you get from experiencing loss. It's all the feelings and the emotions and the thoughts that you're processing privately and internally. Mourning is what you express outward. So in Jewish tradition, we have laws of mourning, right? So we have the Shiva, which is 7 days, and we have various laws of how to mourn appropriately, how to express your grief externally. And then after the Shiva, we have the 30 days, and then we have the year. So, unfortunately, my family and I went through this process not too long ago. And you see the meaning behind it, why it's so important to not just grieve, but to also mourn. There's a beauty behind it.
Yeah.
Not to say that it makes it easier, but it's parts of the process. And it helps the person who experienced loss come to terms with the loss. Not to get over the loss, but to come to terms with it, to come to an acceptance of it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, like, you know how there's like 5 stages of grief or
Mm-hmm.
6 stages,
Yeah.
I'm not
I
sure.
don't even know, honestly. Yeah. Something like
Yeah,
that.
there's like denial, depression, anger,
Anger.
negotiation, and then there's meaning, right?
And acceptance, I think, is maybe one of them. Or
Acceptance,
yeah,
yes.
acceptance. Yeah.
Acceptance and then meaning. I know
Hmm.
David Kessler, who actually, he's a grief counselor, world-renowned grief counselor. He has a
Hmm.
podcast called Healing with David Kessler. I don't know if you've heard of him.
I haven't.
He's amazing.
Okay.
I've actually been listening to his podcast quite a lot these last couple of months, and it's
Wow.
very cathartic for me to listen to his story and how he talks about grief so comfortably in
Wow.
a society that is so allergic to grief. To
Mm-hmm. To
people
pain.
are so
Yeah.
uncomfortable around it, and I get
Yeah.
it. I get why people are uncomfortable around other people who are grieving.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I want us to speak about that. So I love that point, though. So mourning is like the external things that we do to express the grief, to express the loss, I should say.
Yeah,
Grieving is much more of like an internal process. Did I get that right?
exactly.
I love that. And you're saying that the mourning is so healing because it's kind of like this, like, especially in Jewish tradition, like we're allowed, it's like we're being commanded to express this externally. So it's like very validating, I can imagine.
100%. But also, like, you know, after the 30 days, I had a couple of people tell me, like, do you feel better now? Like, is it better? The 30
Mm,
days are done. So do you feel like it's easier? And I'm like,
yeah.
not really. In some ways, it became, hi, Sari, love you. Um, in some ways, it actually becomes more difficult
Hmm.
because the reality hits you even more.
Hmm.
Whereas, first of all, the Shiva week, I don't know about anyone else, but Shiva week is kind of denial. You don't
Hmm.
really know what's going on. You're flooded with people back and forth. You feel like you're in the twilight zone.
Hmm.
You don't really,
Distraction.
you're not grasping what really happened. Here and
Hmm.
there, like you'll have some like pangs of anger or, oh my God, what the heck is going on?
Hmm.
But overall, the week, the 7 days of Shiva,
Hmm.
when you're just flooded with people, that's a way to comfort you and all of that. So you don't really know what's going on. And then the
Hmm.
30 days, you're still in this like bubble of comfort. You're
Hmm.
still,
Like a
you,
cocoon.
yeah, you're in a cocoon where you feel like people are still reaching out to you. They're sending you Shabbat meals. They're asking you how you're doing,
Hmm.
all of that.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, my experience has been where Shiva week was like, Baruch Hashem, it was like overwhelming, and a lot of people came to comfort me and my sisters and my family.
Hmm.
But then it happened at a time where right after Shiva, many people went away.
Hmm.
People went away on vacation, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden I went from that to like,
The
where is
other
everyone?
extreme. Right.
Where is everybody?
Yeah.
So I really had to process this huge loss in my
Hmm.
life alone
Yeah.
without people coming back and forth as often as they did
Hmm.
during the week
During.
of Shiva.
Right. Wow.
Um, so,
But
but it was
yeah.
needed. It was needed. I needed to learn how to cope also on my own or with my
Hmm.
family and not
Yeah,
have
that
people.
transition, yeah, like that transition
Exactly.
is so hard, but it's like it's essential, right? Like I think that's like the breakdown. Like the 7 days is like that intense distraction and intense people being there to comfort you, and then the 30 days like lessons, and that transition from 7 days to 30 days is hard, and then after the 30 days, I'm sure it lessens even more in terms of like that external comfort, and you have to learn more to go within and create your own support and healing system. I mean, you tell me if I'm speaking
Yeah,
hogwarts. Makes sense.
exactly. It doesn't mean that once the 30 days are over, that you're like, okay, hi
Back to
everyone,
life.
back to
Yeah.
life. And you know, like I I work in a profession where I have a very external job. You know, I'm a more at a school. I'm division head in a camp. So like I am the mascot of the school, of the camp, of so my profession and what I do, I have to put on a face and I have to be happy.
Exactly.
And I am, thank God. And for myself, working and being busy with something that I love and, you know, putting myself in a position where I'm busy with meaningful work helps me.
Sure.
It helps me. So yes, I'll be busy at work all day and I'll be really enveloped in my job with whether it's with the kids or with the work and everything. But yeah, it hits me. The grief hits you when you come home or like on the weekends.
Right. Yeah.
Sunday mornings. Sunday mornings are hard for me.
Good that we're doing this.
Yeah, I'm really happy I'm doing this on a Sunday morning because Sundays have always been like, anyone who knows me knows I have like Sunday anxiety.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'd love to hear about that. Is that general? Is that just since your mom passed, or it's always?
I think I've always had anxiety on a Sunday because like I'm so used to being busy
occupied
every day.
busy. Right.
And
it's
then
like that.
Shabbat is Shabbat, you know, you prepare for Shabbat and Shabbat is just that like peace and love. And then Sunday hits and you're like, what am I going to do?
Right. Alive with Faye.
Yeah, exactly.
No, totally. I get that. And that brings me to our next point, which I think you spoke about, and I'm just thinking this now as you're talking, like anticipatory grief. I want to talk about that because I think that's so profound, and it's something I've been thinking about even before our connection. But it also, I segued here because you were saying about this anxiety on a Sunday, and I think a lot of people struggle with that, and I think they call it anticipatory anxiety, where it's like, you know, the work week is going to start, even if they like what they do, it's still like that, you know, pressure of like, you know, Monday is a busy day, and then there's Tuesday, and then there's Wednesday, and whatever that week holds for them. But like, because your hands are sort of tied on a Sunday, there's not much you can do, and it's not necessarily structured in the sense of, you know, what you're doing. You have a lot of time to think, and what our thinking typically does is go to like worst case scenario. And I think that anticipatory anxiety like segues beautifully into like anticipatory grief, which is what I want to focus on since this is really about grief. And I'd love for you to speak about that.
So I'll tell you a little bit about the story if anyone doesn't know. So my mom was diagnosed with cancer in October. And everything was fine. My mom was healthy, just like everyone else. Grief was something that never happened to me. It was something that happened to other people, you know, and I experienced, unfortunately, a very big loss in my life 2 years prior to my mom, a good friend of mine, Dorina Kaladi. So yes, I have experienced grief in my life, but it was never like someone so close to me, like, you know, my mom. So when we initially received the news that she had cancer and a very advanced cancer, that was a big blow to me and my family. You know, you go from just everything being normal, everything being expected, taking everything for granted, and then all of a sudden you get this big boulder in your home and you're like, what is going on? What is going on? So I think initially when we received this news, we were grieving. We were grieving the unknown, the discomfort, all this change in the dynamics of the relationship. We were grieving our healthy mom, our mom who was swimming laps every day, our mom who was super mom, and all of a sudden she has cancer. We were grieving that loss. Yeah. So we weren't grieving the loss, like a death of someone, but we were grieving a previous life. We were grieving a healthy relationship, a healthy person who is no longer like that. So the first 2 to 3 months were very difficult, very, very difficult. And I had a lot of anxiety. I already experienced so much anxiety from COVID. And I think I can speak for a lot of people who are just like perfectly fine. I mean, I don't think anyone's perfectly fine, but you know what I'm saying? Like people who didn't have so much anxiety before with COVID, all of a sudden have so much anxiety. But anyway, I can speak for my family and I that we've experienced a lot of anxiety, because anxiety is like this fear of the unknown. You don't know what's going to happen. Your heart's palpitating. And we, as human beings, we always want to be in control. We want to know what's going to happen today. And I'm a very, like, as you can tell, we were talking about Sundays. I'm a very structured person. Like, I like to know what's happening. Monday, Tuesday, I still write in my planner. I like to lay out my week. And then when we heard this news, it's like, what planner, what plans? Everything was like upside down. I didn't know where to go, left or right. So that was difficult. But then once we got like a treatment plan and we found the doctors and we kind of knew where it was going. We would go to doctor appointments and we said, thank God the cancer was shrinking. So in a way, we got a little bit of rest in the middle where we felt, okay, mom's okay right now. So it's not like we forgot about it, but we were able to ease up a bit. And then
and those kind of,
sorry,
I wanted to ask you a question in those moments, like when things were calmer, were you able to like hold on to those like spaces and like enjoy the moment, or were you constantly like plagued by anticipatory grief, like thinking like, oh, this is, like a pending like gloom and doom situation? Or were you able to like almost go back to like the pre-cancer mom?
So not that and not the other way. I think it was in between. I think I was able to access moments of calm and serenity and a little bit of normalcy in that in-between phase when my mom was like, okay, and she was on her treatments and all of that. But yeah, I was still like grieving the fact that like we couldn't go there for Shabbats, and like my mom wasn't able to just like hop on in and come over and do the things that she used to do. But I felt a little bit at peace, like, okay, God willing, mom's going to get better. Like everything's going to be okay. And I was able to do some things that I used to do. But then Pesach came around and we were all busy with our Passover preparations and getting things done. And unfortunately, my mom's health deteriorated again. Passover, we noticed it in the first Seder night. And then right after that, we found out it got bad again. And that's when the anticipatory grief got triggered again. So I would say that when my mom got very, very sick again in April, anticipatory grief is a mixture of depression and anxiety. So I was anticipating that she might die. And I had that feeling in my head. And at the same time, it was like, I was anxious about it because I didn't know. We didn't know what was going to happen.
Exactly.
And then once she passed away, it wasn't anticipatory anymore. It was kind of like, not a relief, like, oh, but it was a relief, like the anxiety, at least for me, wasn't there anymore.
It wasn't like that, the combating of like anxiety and depression together. And that,
exactly.
extreme anxiety of like when, how, what's going to happen. It was like something tragic just happened, and now you just need to deal with like almost one set of emotions, which is sometimes much easier than conflicting emotions or just opposing other like raging emotions.
100%. And for me, it was actually much harder for me when my mom was in this in-between phase, when she was in this like phase of like, she wasn't here and she wasn't there.
Right.
So I kept like, we kept fighting it and fighting it. And it was like up and down. And I was a mess.
Yeah, I can
Physically, I
imagine.
was a mess, emotionally and mentally. And it didn't help when, you know, maybe people around you weren't supporting you in the way that you wanted, or saying the wrong things or not saying the right things. And like,
Yeah,
it's a tricky subject because
sure.
people are very vulnerable and sensitive at this time.
Hmm.
So, you know, people don't know what to do. They don't know what to say.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I know I'm running off on like 40
No,
different
it's totally,
tangents.
no. I'm with you. I feel
Um,
like I feel
yeah,
like you really explained like anticipatory grief so well, and like even the way it like waxes and wanes, you know, like how you get it, like especially in the experience that you've had, you know, and I feel like I can imagine, and I hope you don't hold any guilt that you had a harder time before your mom passed than after, because I can so imagine that like those conflicting emotions, or even if they're not conflicting, but the two very extreme emotions, and then also seeing your mom in so much pain, I can imagine that that does not add any positive feelings to the mix.
no,
So like for sure that makes sense that this anticipatory grief is so powerful and so painful, and I think that people, and this is a concept I've been toying with, like people can experience anticipatory grief just through anxiety, like just through having such extreme anxiety that something bad will happen. And especially since COVID happened and so many people lost loved ones unexpectedly, I think that anticipatory grief is something that people really contend with today, even if there's no diagnosis, right, for anybody that they love. But just imagining that somebody could just drop dead tomorrow can create that kind of like anxiety and depression
for
combination.
sure.
Yeah.
I want to
Yes,
add something to that because
please.
there are a few people who had a misconception where like, because they thought like we knew it was coming,
Mm,
they were like, oh, so it must have been easier because
mm,
you knew it was going to happen. And
mm,
I got a few comments about that. Like, because you expected it, wasn't it
mm.
easier for you? No,
No,
no, it
no.
wasn't. Because listen, no matter how someone dies, whether it's what's it called? Like they have a disease and they
Hmm.
know it's terminal, or God forbid, someone just dies like that and it's a
Hmm.
shock.
Hmm.
No matter what, it's difficult. It's hard.
Yeah, exactly. And there's
You
no
know,
hierarchy for pain. Like
there's no hierarchy for pain and there's no competition. Oh, like you have it worse, she has it worse. Loss is loss.
exactly. Loss is loss. Pain is pain. Grief is
Pain is
grief.
pain. Loss is
Yeah.
loss. There's no comparison, you
Hmm.
know? But
I can imagine that that must have been like very invalidating. But I think that like goes to like the point of like people don't know what to say. And people I think have good intentions, especially when someone they know someone is like really in pain. I don't think that they intend to like hurt them, but I feel like that's a really important point to like talk about. Should we
for
go there now
sure.
for the next 5 minutes?
Yeah.
In terms of like what people should and should not say to someone, and I definitely want to do a part two because there are so many things we did not get to, and
Right.
I love that you're being so open and sharing about this, and I think it's like there's no better person to hear it from than somebody that's experienced it, and also that's someone like you that's in the healing profession. I think that you like it's a beautiful combination of like wisdom and experience, and I really want to do a part two to this. So just to like wrap up, maybe we can say a few things of like what you should say to someone, or and what you should not say to someone who's grieving.
Okay. I don't even know where to begin. First of
You
all,
could
I
just say
want
like one or two things, and we could continue that next time. Like we could pick up from there next time.
to,
It
okay.
doesn't have to be like, oh, here's like the list that you should like now print out for yourself.
Okay.
But
I'm
just
just
like
speaking
whatever
from,
comes to mind.
okay. I'm just speaking from personal experience. I don't want to be the
Sure,
spokesperson. I'm not the
sure,
spokesperson for grief or anything. I'm just talking about my personal experience and like
sure.
what I didn't like. So
Hmm.
let's maybe just start with the do's, I
Yeah,
think, what
yeah,
I
I like that.
appreciated. Okay.
Sure.
So I know everybody wanted to help and everybody wanted to reach out and all of that. But there's a very big difference when someone messages you saying, hey, I'm here if you need anything. Let me know if you need any help. And like, listen, I've done it myself. And you just want to like reach out and just make sure that that person knows that you're thinking of them. Yes, understood. But you know what's even better than that? When someone either messages you and says, hey, I'm at the supermarket. Tell me what you need. Or, hey, I'm ordering from this place. I'm not giving you an option. If you already have dinner tonight, okay. Do you have dinner tomorrow night? I'm ordering for you. Let me know what specific help.
Not if, how.
How.
Exactly.
You understand?
Love
Because
that. Yeah.
I'm not going to, like, when I get like hundreds of messages, hey, I'm here for you. If you need anything, let me know.
Exactly.
I'm not going to let you know.
Exactly.
I'm just not going to, like.
You might as well just have sent a text message saying, hey, I'm thinking of you. You're in my prayers. Like, that would be nice.
That I like.
Exactly.
I mean, some people don't like that when like someone's always saying, hey, I'm thinking of you. I'm like, okay, I got it. I know you're thinking of me.
Right. Not excessively, but yeah.
If you're not going to actually help, don't just say, I'm here for you if you need any help. Like, so say if you're going to the pharmacy, you're going to the supermarket, you're ordering, or let's say you're going to the flower shop, just, I don't know, something with action.
Either do something or ask something very like pointed, very specific. What can I do for you in this moment? I'm here. Or even if they're not, let's say there, but like, what can I do? How can I help?
Exactly. And
versus
then,
like,
another thing I wanted to bring up, because I really think it's important. I get it that people are uncomfortable with loss and mourning and grief. I get it. Okay? But I think as a society, we all need to address the elephants in the room a little bit more. I'm aware that my mom died. You're not going to like trigger me or anything if you just acknowledge my loss. I think worse than, I'm trying to say this in the right way. I think worse than like saying the wrong thing to someone is not even addressing it. Not even I mean, that's my experience. Other people can think a different way. But if I have like a relationship with someone or someone knows me and they complete like, okay, you can't make it to visit me. I get it. But just to like acknowledge that I experienced a loss means a lot.
Sure. I love that. I love that.
Not
people
even ignoring it
is
more painful than saying the wrong thing. Like, she's in a better place right now, or like, it was meant to, like, okay, whatever.
You prefer the wrong, like maybe the wrong sense of like words being shared, but rather an acknowledgement versus.
You could just say, I'm thinking of you. Just to acknowledge, like, Karen, you experienced this loss. Okay, if someone doesn't know me, I get it. But if you know me and you like interact with me, or there's some sort of connection, I think it's appreciated to acknowledge the elephant in the room. You're not going to like blow anything up if you just say, I'm sorry for your loss. It's really, I don't know. I just think maybe
I love
some people are very uncomfortable with it.
Sure.
With loss,
I think it's more, it speaks more to the, I think it's two things. I think it's the discomfort that the person has with loss themselves. Like, so for them to bring it up might create so much anxiety for them that they're not ready or willing to experience that. And granted, like maybe that will take them to a very dark place. And I think the second point is that they might think that the person that they're speaking to does not want it mentioned because it might take them back to a very dark place. But I can totally agree and hear with what you're saying, which is like, don't make believe something that happened never happened. If like I'm not in denial about it, so having you acknowledge it is actually comforting and validating, and makes me feel like we can exist, like everything can exist in this moment, and that's okay.
Exactly. Like, I can be happy and be at my job, and I can also, like, you can acknowledge it. You can acknowledge that, like, something, it says time to close Instagram. That's so funny.
That's so weird. We're gonna wrap up anyway. Yeah, I didn't set a timer. I don't even know there's such a
I
thing.
don't know. I have a
But I love
timer.
everything. Yeah, that's funny. I love everything that you shared, Karen. And I think that's like, it's so beautiful. Like, honestly, like the way that you were so willing to share it. I think maybe also people underestimate the strength that you have potentially, right? Like, and the strength that other people that have been through loss have. And that's also why they don't bring these things up, because they think that, like, oh, maybe if they think if it was me, I wouldn't want somebody bringing it up. I would totally, like, be, go into like a pile of tears. So they don't imagine, or they can't imagine that somebody else like yourself has the strength and the capacity to hold, like, acceptance and joy and grief in the moment. So I think that's another point to it. So,
They
like,
can coexist at the same
they
time.
can coexist, but they don't necessarily know that you have that strength, or that whoever that person is has that strength.
Right.
So I think that's something, that speaks to your strength, though, that you can do it, that. And I'm sure that other people will be like, don't even mention it, because I will be reduced to a pile of tears. So I love that the tips that you're giving are also very much like, this is what works for me. And I think many people will agree with you. But I think it's also maybe something we could speak about next time, is like how to convey the things that you need to the people that are there to support you, in a way that's like appropriate. But I
Okay.
love everything that you shared, Karen.
Thank
Thank you so much.
you.
We're definitely going to do a part 2 of this one, if not a
Thank
part 3
you.
as well. You're so brave, and you're so, like, courageous for being able to speak about this and being so open. And I know it's like a sensitive topic, but you're just like amazing that you're able to like hold the wisdom of it and like share it, as well as hold the grief and be so open and honest. So I really, really admire you for that. Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about this, and for
My
doing a
pleasure.
live after, like, I don't even know like how long. So I
Yeah, but
faced my
you're so
fears.
amazing. Like, you're like a natural at this, honestly. So I would never know that you haven't done this in
Not
a
at
while.
all.
So welcome back to Instagram officially. I think people
I
want you
know.
back. Get all the love you got.
Slowly,
It's not.
slowly.
Yeah. Okay. So we're ready to have you whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. So how does this
Alrighty.
work? You close
I'm gonna
it?
end it. Yeah. I'm just gonna end it, and then we'll be gone for
Okay.
now.
Okay, you
All
know what
right.
you're
Take care,
doing.
everybody. Thank you for
Thank
joining. Thanks so
you.
much. Have a great rest of the day. Hope Sunday is calm and easy, and we'll be in
Amen.
touch. Take care. Bye
Bye.
bye.
See you.